What's up, y'all? Welcome to Sunday Soup, the podcast where comfort meets conversation. I'm Lindsay. I'm your host, your chef, your storyteller, and every other week I whip up a delicious soup and pair it with some thought-provoking conversation, some inspiring stories, and maybe some laughs. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on alerts, like this video, share, whatever, so that you can stay in the know about all the things Sunday Soup related. Also, follow me on social media. My socials are down in the link below. Do that. This week is a great week. We're going to be getting outside of our comfort zone, breaking out some of these comfort zones. Today's soup is going to be the classic French onion soup, which is such a great soup if you know how to make it. The first time I made it, it wasn't that great. So we're going to try this again, knowing what I know now, breaking outside of my comfort zone and trying again. So yeah, grab your bowl, get cozy. We're going to stir this soup up together and let's take it to the stove. So for today's soup, of course we have onion. That's like the most important part of a French onion. I have a yellow onion and a sweet yellow onion. Onions, whichever the specificities are, they'll be down below. Some fresh thyme, some Gruyere cheese, which is like a French treat cheese, a French baguette to like top it. I don't know. If you've ever had French onion, you understand. And then I have this Better Than Bouillon like stock additive. I don't know. It takes vegetable broth, veggie stock, and gives it that like meaty flavor without adding actual meat since I don't eat beef. So I have that. Of course, garlic powder, veggie broth, and then some sherry. Some people said that they use like red wine for this. I'm going to use the sherry, like the dry wine, to like add in some of that flavor. I am 1,000% confident that everyone has had to be thrown outside of their comfort zone at least once in life, if not a million times. I'm just cutting off the ends of this. I don't have the best knives, as you can see. So as I start cutting this onion and peeling these layers off, comfort zones. That is a topic that I think is both important but can also be really, really uncomfortable. I don't know, comfort zones are just like something that I feel like you're always thrown out of. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like sometimes I make the active choice to get out of my comfort zone, but a lot of times it's just like I have to do it and it feels kind of forced. And so comfort zones are like a really touchy subject. They can be really good, but they can also be like, ugh, I hate it here. I'm sure I'll also be like crying, but it'll be because of the onions, not because like, ooh, this topic is so deep. But what are comfort zones, right? We all know what a comfort zone is. It's just like where things feel familiar. It's where you're safe. It's where you're protected. It's where you feel the most at home. But they can also be a little bit of a hindrance to your growth and to trying new things. They're also culturally important. Like a lot of the norms and the things that you do come from a cultural perspective, as well as like just who you are as a person. Where I grew up, a lot of people live there, like people that were born there live there, and I didn't know a lot of people that had moved out of my hometown. So that was something I just wanted to experience. It was definitely out of my comfort zone. It was something new. It was something that no one could like give me advice on. But it was worth it because it allowed me to grow and teach me a lot of things about myself. I am the first person actually in my family to also have a dog. Like in my immediate family, my extended family has always had dogs. But last night, like my dog had an emergency and I was so out of my comfort zone. Like I had to take him to the emergency vet. I thought I had done something wrong. I'm new to this. Like I don't know what I'm doing. And so while comfort zones are great, times like getting outside of them is really, really scary. And you're like, okay, there's no blueprint. Somebody help me, teach me what to do. Like I mentioned, they can be culturally inspired. They can also be societally inspired. I think a lot of them nowadays are societally inspired. And like breaking comfort zones is like a trend of at least my generation. Like even with our careers and our professions, you know, my parents are part of the generation that like for the most part found a good job, stayed at a good job. My dad was a little different, but that was just natural for them. Whereas like I'm very much a like, if it's not serving me, if I don't like it, if for any reason I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go and I'm gonna go. I don't have to stay at a job forever. So I don't know, comfort zones can be very different depending on where you grow up, who you're around, what you surround yourself with. I tend to just be a very somewhat impulsive, like adventurous person. So I like to seek other things. So I always knew I would move. I always knew I would do things that other people hadn't because it was just like a part of me. And why fear when it's inevitable? Like it's inevitable. Failure is inevitable. There's no point in fearing failure. At some point you're going to fail, you're going to mess up, but like you're going to get back up. So I'm definitely of that mindset. So it was a little bit easier for me to get out of my comfort zone for certain things like moving or going to school or doing stuff that like maybe someone in my family hasn't done. When it comes to podcasting, this is so out of my comfort zone. It's not so out of my comfort zone, but it's new, you know? And it has taken me to a stretch place, which we'll talk about later, where like I have had to stretch and use different parts of myself and explore different parts of myself. While I was cutting those onions and yapping, I was going in about all of these things, I realized my phone stopped recording. Again, comfort zone. Yeah, I don't know what happened. So you missed a lot of me cutting the onions, but I do have a bowl full. The thing with French onion soup is there's really not a lot to prep. It's really about what you do when you get it onto the stove. So now that these onions are sliced and ready, I have plenty. Even though they do cook down, I'm not going to use all these. There's no way. I'll use them throughout the week for other food. We'll get it on the stove and we'll talk more about some comfort zones. So let's go over to the stove. All right. So before I forget, I'm going to turn my oven on to 425 because we're going to bake the baguettes with like some butter, some garlic, and the Gruyere cheese on top. I don't have things that can go into the oven like to hold the soup to bake the cheese on top. So we're going to bake the cheese on the baguettes because that's just a little bit safer, a little foolproof way of not destroying the soup. So to start, of course, we're going to get our handy dandy butter, or you can use olive oil. Sometimes I don't have any right now. But we're going to start with like caramelizing the onions. You want it low. You want this to like go slow and take its time. You don't really want it to be a rush thing. This is like a really important step because really this whole soup is about the onion. So like I briefly said it, like getting out of your comfort zone isn't going to be perfect. Like you'll start new stuff like a podcast and you'll mess up a lot, but that's where like growth and transformation happens. And there's definitely a balance between pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to grow, and then also giving your space to just be in your comfort zone. Like there are some days where I am just tired, or I've had a long day, or like a rough week or something, to where I'm like, okay, you know what? Actually, I need to be in my comfort zone a little bit. I need some space. I think the beauty of comfort zones is that it doesn't always have to be extremely uncomfortable. It can be baby steps. Like I think when I think of like getting out of my comfort zone, sometimes I'm hesitant because I'm like, oh, it's going to be so hard. But it really doesn't have to be. It could be as simple as like, I tried something new, or instead of going through my routine like I normally do, I added something different just to mix it up a little bit. I think when you're balancing your comfort zones, like don't always force yourself so far into uncomfortability, but like lean into those times when you're like, okay, I'm becoming predictable. I need to shake things up, or I just need something new. Like that's when you can break a comfort zone. You cannot break a comfort zone when you're exhausted, when life has been hard, when things are just not like you can. And that's still, but in that in itself is a break in your comfort zone. Like when you're overcoming stuff. So don't overwhelm yourself. I think I'm talking to myself. I don't need to overwhelm myself to feel like I'm growing and I'm transforming and I'm becoming this and this. Like some days it can literally just look like a regular slow comfort zone day, and that's valuable and growing and transformation. The butter is melted, so I'm gonna put the onions in. Again, like you want it low. I have two different types of onions, so I'm gonna try to get some of both. I don't know, I wanted to try two different types to see like how it gives you some flavor and some depth. I'm gonna cover basically the entire bottom of the pot with onion. Yeah, I think that's good. So we're gonna let these caramelize for a little bit before we add in some of this other stuff. While these onions are slowly caramelizing, I'm going to get these baguettes on this pan so that once my oven is hot and ready to go, I can just pop them in. I just got some parchment paper. Sometimes I cut it like, I don't feel like doing on that. And I'm gonna be a little unconventional here and cut this baguette on the parchment paper on my pan. And that's only because I forgot to cut it when we were prepping. So just try not to cut your parchment paper if you do this. These are about the size that I'm cutting them. So talking about comfort zones, while I cut these baguettes, I know I need to get out of my comfort zone, or I know I'm like too comfortable in something when I start to think like, oh, I can't do that, or like, oh, I can't do something, or oh, I won't do something. I don't know why, but that's when I notice like, uh-oh, you might be a little too comfortable with where you are, and you need to like pay attention to that, because can't is limiting, won't is limiting, and I don't need to limit myself in anything. Sometimes I can be honest and be like, nah, I don't have it right now. Like, I'm not in a space to do that. And that's very different than being like, I can't do that. I'm not able to do that, or stopping myself from something, because you can tell when you're like, genuinely, I need a break, or it's too much, versus like, you don't want to get out of your comfort zone. You don't want to do something else. When I notice it, and when I have to like challenge myself to be like, get out that comfort zone and get it together, you are better than that. And last week I talked about like small wins and the power of small wins, and using that as like your momentum to project you. And I think that goes hand in hand with like getting out of your comfort zone, is those baby steps, and like building the discipline and building the things that you want, so that you can more easily get out of your comfort zone. Maybe like comfort zones aren't a bad thing. Like, I don't want it to come off like I think comfort zones are bad. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to comfort zones, and I think you have to know where you are to understand like where you should move next. Like, comfort zones can provide stability, like when you're really just struggling, or you feel like a lot is going on in life. Comfort zones are great to just stabilize you and remind you of your power, of who you are. But I also think they can challenge you in stagnation, becoming stagnant. And that's when it gets to be a problem. I don't know. I don't think I shared this, and I don't think I shared this on last week, but I have enrolled in a business cohort, which is very new for me. I'm trying to start a business. I've been trying to start a business since before I even started this podcast. It was something I've been working on, but I had this kind of limiting mindset that I didn't have the skills to do it. I didn't have the money to do it. Like, nah, I shouldn't be a business owner. Like, that's not, I don't know why I thought that, but I had some doubt, and I was not sure if I had the qualifications to become a business owner and to own my own business. And I applied to this cohort a few weeks ago, and I'm going to take classes basically for beginner entrepreneurs. It's free, and they teach you all the things about like becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business. And you go through this class, and then you can like enter into pitch competitions and really, help your business flourish. And I was having just a hard time going from idea to execution, but I was putting myself in my comfort zone. Like, this business is very much outside of my comfort zone for many reasons. It's in an area that, like, sure, I use it, but I don't have a lot of experience in it. That's not even true. I just don't have direct experience in it, but I do have some indirect strength and some indirect job experience that could really lend me well to an area like this. And I was really kind of limiting myself and like, what? I don't think I should do this. Or like, is this right? And then when things were slow, I was having a hard time understanding, okay, does this mean I should? Does this mean I shouldn't? Is this a sign I shouldn't? But then getting into this cohort, I realized like, no, this is a sign that you can do this. You have this vision. You can be trusted. Something my therapist tells me to tell myself all the time is you can be trusted. But that was my comfort zone talking, because I was thinking, well, it's not what I got my degree in. It's not what I've done all my work in, but that doesn't matter. Like, getting outside of your comfort zone allows you to enter new spaces, whether you've been in them before, indirectly. I mean, yeah, it can challenge you. So I really had to fight with myself, and I'm still currently fighting with myself to get out of my comfort zone and explore this new avenue. So if you're, trying something new, like, it isn't linear, and sometimes your comfort zones will peek out and try to stop you because it's uncomfortable. But like, don't stop. Get it? No, but don't stop. Like, literally talk to your mind and tell yourself that like, there are pros to being in my comfort zone. It can help me feel safe. It can help me when life is going crazy, but there are also pros to getting out of my comfort zone and challenging myself and becoming a better version of myself, becoming who I want to be in my future. And I just think that's really, really important. So these onions are like kind of browning and getting softer, which is perfect. And I'm gonna put these baguettes in. I'm gonna just toast them at first before I put the cheese on them, and then we'll go put the cheese on them after. But I'm just gonna throw them into the oven for a few minutes. Then we'll add the cheese and we'll take them out. So this is like the size that they are. You throw it in and just keep an eye on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in the veggie broth. I just used the whole bottle, the whole thing. There's about 4 servings per container. Serving sizes of cups. There's about 4 cups in here. And I'm gonna add in some sherry and the very important part, better than bouillon. If you eat meat, you can certainly use just a beef broth or like a beef stock. Is that what it's called? Since I've been able to cook, I have never eaten meat really. I went veg or pescatarian in 27 years, so 2017, and I was a freshman in college. So since I've been an adult, I haven't been able to eat meat. So that's something I don't really know well. So whatever beef stock or broth or whatever you use, and I don't really think you need a lot, so I probably added too much per usual. So if you know me, growing up I was a fish. I loved swimming. I think swimming is so fun. I still love to go to the beach, go to the pool. But swimming is definitely one of those things where you learn to get out of your comfort zone, but you do it. Like, think about how you learn how to swim. Like, you don't just jump in the deep end and just go, or jump off the diving board and just go. Like, you learn how to kick your feet first, and then you learn how to use your arms, and then you learn how to go underwater, or like whatever way you learn how to swim, right? And that's how I like to think of like your comfort zones. It's not a soup reference, shocking, but that's what I like to think of, is that it's like swimming. You know, you're taking your time, you're slowly getting there, but every little step you take, every little piece of progress that like you make, I didn't mean to like basically quote the song, but you really are like getting somewhere and becoming something. So it's really about small wins, little steps, baby steps, and becoming who you want to be slowly. Just like soup. Soup takes its time. This soup takes a lot of time. In that it needs to like simmer a lot because the flavors have to like really mesh together, and that can only happen with time. Not the herb, but that too, but with actual time. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how well that tastes already. So I'm just gonna crank it up a little bit. We're gonna let this simmer, and I'm going to pull these baguettes out. They've been in there like 5 minutes. I'm gonna pull them out, put some cheese on top. I'm gonna grate some cheese on top and then put it back in. So we'll grate the cheese on the other side. So I'll show you that. Like I was saying, I feel like we often equate comfort zones with like being uncomfortable. However, though, like even today, I feel a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I don't really know why. I'm doing the same thing I always do. It's a Sunday. I am cooking soup, obviously. It's a new soup. I mean, I made it before, but it's a new soup. Nothing is like inherently different, but I feel out of my comfort zone. It doesn't necessarily feel like uncomfortable or anything like I can't handle, but there's obviously some growth coming from it, and I'm able to recognize that and notice that. So I think that's like an important part of comfort zones. Like I was saying, it doesn't always have to be uncomfortable, but like you notice a change or you can feel the change or something just is different, you know? And that's kind of how I feel today. Something is just different, and maybe it was because of like the thing with my dog. I don't know, but I feel different. So I am just grating some Gruyere cheese onto these baguettes, and then I'm gonna throw them back in the oven for just like maybe 2 minutes, however long it takes to get this cheese like melted and toasty while my soup is still simmering and boiling, and I can hear it actually. So I think that's like more than enough cheese. But like the best part of this soup is the cheese. So back into the oven. And let's check on the soup. Okay, let's check this soup. It is doing its thing. Oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna check the recipe, make sure there's nothing I'm missing, because I feel like I'm missing some stuff. Some salt and some pepper. It doesn't really need a lot of salt. Like I feel like it's pretty salty, but I'm just gonna add a little bit of pepper. Again, that like better than bouillon. Those cute that not the cubes. You can buy the cubes, but those that helps season it a lot. Ooh, Yay, the cheese is like melted. I just want to get it a little bit like brown on top. Oh, this is heavenly. I don't think y'all understand. I wish y'all could taste, bruh. That is fire. That's gonna be so good. And look at me getting out of my comfort zone. First time I made it, it was good. It was not that great. But this, yeah, this is unstoppable. All right. I just want the cheese to get a little bit brown. Because that's like the beauty of it. That's why I wish I had like pots or bowls that can go into the oven, but I don't. All right, so I'm gonna let this just roll just a little bit longer while these baguettes get toasty. And I'm gonna throw some soup in the bowl and see on the other side. The bowl is really hot, but if you can see, I got the soup. I added 2 baguettes and I added some extra cheese on top because Gruyere cheese is the best. And I'm just gonna taste it. And while I'm tasting it, if you are like an OG here and you've been here since the beginning, which it still is, but you've watched a few videos, you're probably like, she didn't challenge us today. Normally she'll be like, I'm challenging you. Well, I am. I just waited till the end. I'm challenging you to get out of your comfort zone this week, whatever that looks like for you. Whether it's making a new recipe, trying a new workout, I don't know, talking to somebody new, get out of your comfort zone and do it. Oh my gosh. This soup is so good. I really did my big one. I low-key, like, I want to, like, box this up and have people try it. Like, tell me how good it is. No, I do, though. But this is so good. Thank you for riding along with me as we talked and broke into comfort zones. I hope this episode fulfilled your soul in some way or met you where you are. Like, subscribe, turn on the alerts, follow me on Instagram, all those things. Thank you so much for coming along for the ride of this podcast. And next week, I am going to talk about boundaries, which I think is a perfect, this is like a perfect segue from comfort zone into boundaries because boundaries are really, really hard to set. So I'm going to talk about boundaries. It's going to be a surprise soup, as in I don't even know what I'm making yet. So yeah, haven't decided what I'm going to make, but we're going to talk about boundaries and you're going to have to just find out. You're going to have to watch the next video to find out what soup it is. All right, I'll see y'all on the other side. Bye.